Vinyl in the digital age. I've had a deep love for vinyl ever since I fixed a busted-up record player back in middle school. Recently, the vinyl industry has seen a resurgence in popularity, and I wanted to find out why apparently more people are listening to records in the so-called digital age. So I went to Columbia's own Hitt Street Records to find out for myself.
Is there any big difference between buying digital or vinyl in terms of quality?
I mean, this is the way I learned about it, and I think this makes the most sense, but let's talk about sound waves.
When describing the difference between digital and vinyl records, as a musician and a sound engineer myself, I was impressed by Taylor's knowledge of sound design and the differences that specific wave patterns make.
A sound wave is going to look like a ribbon, just like this big, really nice flow, right? Then a digital sound wave is going to look more like a city skyline. It's going to be like jagged, something that you're not necessarily thinking you're going to be able to pick up, but there is just an audible difference.
Is there anything you dislike about vinyl?
I hate sourcing for used records. I'm on a perpetual hamster wheel of desire and want, not for myself, but for the community. Being able to keep the store with things that people are interested in and excited about is really tedious. And I think for all the glamour of owning a record store, you're just basically shoving piles of stuff around constantly and having to make sense of it and put it in a way that people can consume it. You get a big stack of records this big, and each record has a place it needs to go to the shit stash, the dollar bin. Is it gonna get cleaned up and go to Soul? It's just a lot of, you're just a janitor, in a lot of ways. But sourcing records is far and away the hardest thing, because we live in an era where everybody wants to listen to vinyl, and so 7 or 8 years ago, people were just selling it for next to nothing, and now everybody knows that vinyl records are cool, and everybody's holding on to them now. So that's been the hard part right now.
Taylor gave me some quality inside information on some struggles with owning a record store, but I wanted to dig into his perspective from a consumer's point of view.
Well, there's still, like I said, some things you just can't get in the digital age. So, I don't know, what would be a good example of something that's not readily accessible? Like, you can't get Silver Apple's Contact on Spotify. I don't think so. I could be wrong, but this is a classic droney, electronic album from the 60s.
I asked Taylor when he realized he was in love with vinyl, and he knew his answer immediately.
Midnight Vultures, album I'm very familiar with, probably listened to 300 times. When I heard it on vinyl, I nearly fell out of my chair because the sonic spectrum was so much brighter than the CD ever was. And I think for me that was just enough to know that vinyl is where it's at.
After my research, I found that nostalgia, sound quality, variety, and community building seemed like the core principles of what vinyl is all about. And that's why it's still thriving in this digital age.